So, are you scared of clowns? Before the 1970s, a clown was a symbol of fun. Children's play, you could go to the circus, you could have fun at a party. Ronald McDonald, he was a clown, right? That was fun. And then it all changed. His name was John Wayne Gacy. He single handedly transformed this childlike into a nightmare. John Wayne Gacy grew up in Chicago, Illinois, in a quiet suburban town. He was a model citizen, or so they thought. He was active in politics. He would volunteer and dress up like a clown. And to the kids, he was known as Pogo the Clown. Little did they know he was a serial killer. He hosted block parties and was seen as a pillar of the community, but underneath the carefully crafted facade, Gacy was a monstrous serial killer who had already murdered dozens of young men. In 1978, it all unraveled. With the disappearance of police followed a trail that led them directly to Gacy's house. What they discovered was unspeakable. Gacy was making himself known as a pillar of the community, one that everybody could trust. He worked in politics and even had his photo with Mrs. Carter. He worked from one manager job to the next. People thought he was a really great guy. He worked around Chicago, Illinois until he moved to Vegas. And it doesn't surprise me he worked at a mortuary. Doesn't surprise me. He helped embalm all the bodies. He helped be a pallbearer. He took care of people's loved ones while they were away. And he took care of them really good. Oh my. When everybody was away and everything was quiet in the mortuary, he would climb in there and he would cuddle with the deceased. What? What? So if any of you felt bad that your loved one was all alone, you shouldn't have to worry because Gacy was right there. He also was a pillar of the community and was vice president of the local Springfield Jaycees in Springfield, Illinois. Now, we do know of another murder that happened in Springfield, Illinois, right? I mean, is there something in the water? It's making me wonder. He even got an award for being outstanding. Wow. He was a manager at different KFCs, and he also had a construction job. You know, because why not help people in their homes when they need help? This is really creeping me out. This is really creeping me out. Great. I mean, have you ever hired somebody to help you out around the house here and there? I know I have. Oh my goodness. Ah! Then, all of a sudden, these young men kept disappearing, popping up one after another. One missing here, one missing there. What is going on? The police started following the trail. Following the trail. Who is the last person to see these people? And that trail was leading straight to Gacy. What? Pillar of the community? Well, you know, I've heard of a lot of serial killers that are like that, though, right? Pillar of the community. Oh, it's not me. Couldn't possibly be me. The police made a dark discovery when they followed that trail. 15-year-old was missing. They were looking for him. They were trying to figure out what happened to him. And when they followed that trail, it led them straight to Gacy's house. And Gacy had hired these young boys to come in and help him with housework, help him do this and that, and sometimes even threaten them that they would lose their job if they didn't do what he had said. Oh, this is creepy. And what the police discovered was unspeakable. They walked through the front door of his house, looked around, and when they opened the toilet, they found something that smelled really bad.
Oh no.
Well, now, come on, it wasn't that. That's not where the story ends. It was a putrefaction smell of death. They looked around, and it seemed to be coming from the pipes or lofting through the air when the heat turned on. They made their way down to the basement steps. They were finding strange things in the house, like hypodermic needles, strange videotapes, and oddly, he had badges that looked like he was a police officer, but he was not a police officer. He had fake badges he was carrying around to make people think he was a police officer. Because most people trust the police, right? I mean, they're there to help us. But Gacy was not there to help these boys at all. He had several things in his home that made him look like a police officer, including handcuffs. Now, if some guy wanted me to use handcuffs, I would run. Don't do it, ladies. Just don't. Somebody asked you to wear handcuffs. It's probably not going to be a good day. That doesn't sound like a good time. Why? Why? Would you trust somebody with handcuffs? I don't know. Maybe I don't want to know the answer to that one. They made their way down to the basement. And here's what I don't understand. He was married. Right? He was married. He was kind of had that narcissistic, sociopath, psychopath, whatever you want to call it, where it was everybody else's fault. Never his fault. He's like Mr. Good Guy, right? But didn't his wife know? Wouldn't you know if you were digging up your basement? How could these women not know that there were 29 bodies buried in the basement? The bodies went from one end to the other in the basement of the house. He had boys that he had hired and young men come over to his basement and dig these holes because he didn't want to do it. No, I'm not going to take time to dig those holes. Just hire it out, right? I mean, weren't these boys thinking, why are we digging like people sized holes? Oh, my skin is crawling just thinking about this. The man who brought smiles to children's faces was actually a monster, dressed up like a clown. I'd love to know, did your parents ever hire Pogo or Patches the Clown? Oh my! I'm sure those are some interesting photos from your birthday party. This is where anxiety about clowns just hits the roof. Clowns are already creepy. They have makeup. You can't really see what they're doing or thinking. And then this story comes out. It spread fear all over America about clowns. Are you scared of clowns when you have a trick or treater come to your house? Are you opening the door? I know if I see a clown, I ain't opening no door. Hell no, won't go. Stephen King even wrote a book about a clown and it was turned into a movie. And I know even when that movie came out in my own area, we were not allowed to dress up like a clown that year. They said no clowns. They begged us not to dress up like a clown that year. Gacy made a culture of fear of clowns. It's like a modern phobia. Does anybody else have that phobia of clowns? I know that I do. I don't like them. I never have. And I didn't hear about this story as a child, and I still didn't like the clowns. Gacy lured at least 33 young men or boys into his home. At least they don't even know if that number is completely correct. He would sometimes say, "Oh, I'm busy. I don't want to talk about it." Like he was busy, right? Or he would just have an excuse, or he would say things like, "Oh, I need to know more about these people because I don't remember." No, you don't need to know more about these people. Yes, you do remember. I don't remember. It became a phobia of the sinister things that could happen behind the makeup. I would say pretty much almost anyone's fear. And when the police walked down to the basement, they discovered 29 bodies hidden in his basement of his home. 29 bodies. There were other bodies that ended up in the river, and even one that ended up on a barge floating away. Can you imagine what these people thought when they found a body on their barge? Woo! I mean, what did they do? It's a bad day. A really bad day at work. This was the moment of the killer clown. An archetype was born, and Gacy's crimes validated a pre existed anxiety about clowns. Experts suggest the unnerving makeup, the exaggerated smile, and the hidden identity already made some people uncomfortable. Gacy provided a horrifying real world reason for that fear. This is a new, widespread terror that wasn't lost on any storytellers. In 1986, Stephen King published it, featuring a sinister entity, Pennywise. Gacy's legacy had forever cemented the terrifying clown in popular culture. He had no remorse for what he did either. He would say things like, "Oh, it was their fault," or he was acting like he was doing a service to us all. What in the world? Even to the end, he never admitted that what he had done was wrong or that he even really cared. Can you imagine when he had a photo taken with Mrs. Carter? Oh my goodness. I'm sure the security went nuts over that. How did he get to the first lady to have a picture taken? And he was a serial killer. Come on now. Come on. He would often carry a sheriff's badge, and he had red lights on the top of his car like he was a police officer. He would lure people in for murder. This is so scary. If somebody's dressed up like a clown, if you don't know somebody, maybe don't put handcuffs on, I just have to say. And there were bodies that were washing up on shore down the river by where he lived. And they don't even know if they know of all of the victims that were involved in Gacy's little murder spree. He would push it off like everyone else was the problem. He would call the police rude and make up excuses not to talk about it, or it was always somebody else's fault. There was a boy that even reported that Gacy had given him a watch and said it was from a dead person. Underneath his house was a whole slew of graves all over the basement floor. And you're telling me the wife didn't know about this? Did she never go to the basement to do laundry back then? You've got to be kidding me, right? And with his confession, he picked up a newspaper and said, "This boy is dead and he's in the river." He had also confessed that he was planning to conceal the bodies under concrete in the basement, covering the whole crawl space. Now, I did have a crawl space, and once in one of my houses, actually two of my houses, they were so creepy I would never ever go in there. Okay, I did once. That was creepy. It only, oh, I didn't even like going down to those basements. It took the jury about 1 hour to debate Gacy's case. When they came up with a verdict of guilty of 33 people, guilty of murder, he did it. The jury was selected from Rockford, Illinois, because Cook County knew all about this and it was just way too saturated with people that knew about this case. Hey, doesn't one of our friends live there? I think so. Oh, this is creepy. Gacy then sat on death row for 14 years. That's a long time to keep somebody on death row. That's a long time to be on death row. Can you imagine sitting there for 14 years? Wow, that's a long time. He had many conflicting claims that he came up with during that time, and even sometimes alleged his innocence. What? And on May 9, 1994, Casey was transferred to the Stateville Correctional Facility, where he was going to be executed. He ordered a bucket of KFC, French fries, a dozen fried shrimp. I think they were the prongs, like those really big ones, like that kind. Fresh strawberries and a Diet Coke. That evening, he received his last rites from a priest. 1,000 people had gathered outside waiting for his death sentence. There were slogans going around like "No tears for this clown." And on that day, he died. Here's the odd part, because this story just keeps getting stranger, right? They actually took out his brain. Who would want that? They took it out because they wanted to study it. What? Who in the world? Now, there is a little bit of good that comes from here. And they did switch the Amber Alert around because you had to wait so many hours. But now they have lifted that in most states, if not all of them. And an Amber Alert can go out right away. You don't have to wait like so many days to put one out. So when children are going missing, they actually have an alert, which is awesome. It did take them a while to ID a lot of those people that were buried. Some of them were scattered in the basement, and some of them were buried one on top of each other. So they took them out one by one and gave them a number to ID them. And for some of them, it did take quite a while. Now, he did confess before being put to death, he did confess that there could be around 45 people that he has murdered. Thank goodness he went away and he is gone, and we don't have to worry about that clown. Hopefully, there will be no more like that. I'm still not answering my door. No, thank you. And I did find some of the victims floating in the river by Freeport, Illinois. So, what do you think? Are you afraid of clowns? I'd love to know. Are you afraid of clowns? Has this story made you more afraid of clowns? Did Gacy change your thought of clowns forever? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe and share out if you would. That'd be awesome. And subscribe if you want to hear more things like this. I thought October would be a great time to share these scary stories. Let's dive deeper into our fears. Well, I hope you enjoyed this little story for this Halloween October. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great scary day. Bye.